Welcome to this episode of North vs South podcast, where we discuss video games, technology, TV, and movies. In this episode, we are discussing the PlayStation Q.
Okay, Josh, I've brought you here today to talk about PlayStation Q.
What's that?
I don't know. You tell me. No, joking. I do know. Well, everyone thought, because there was a leak, wasn't there, like a few months back for the PlayStation conference, saying that there's going to be a new handheld. There's going to be a PSP free, because you originally had the PSP, then the PS Vita, and everyone's like, oh, there's going to be another handheld. But then we find out that it's actually just a streaming device that you could only connect your PS5 to via local Wi-Fi.
Only connect to your PS5 too?
Yeah, but that's what I've heard. You can only... So that's the whole purpose of it, is it's just like a second screen for your PS. So like...
If you can't access the PlayStation Cloud gaming service through this, then...
I don't think you can.
Well, there's no point in it existing.
This is what we're talking about. Like, this is the discussion. Like, what is the point of this thing? Because...
So the funny thing is, right, so I've written out a few notes of what information. I just rewatched that little video from the thing.
The Sony press conference, yeah.
And all they say is it's an 8-inch HD screen and it's got a DualSense controller built in. It's a streaming device. It doesn't... Well, maybe it does. My presumption was that you can stream from a local PlayStation 5 console.
Yeah.
Or... if you have PlayStation, the top level one, that you could stream directly from that to the Q, as opposed to going from the cloud to the PlayStation to the Q. Because...
that makes more sense, but I don't...
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But why can't it do it? Is it a display out... Like, is the PlayStation running the display, and therefore it's got practically no compute power to it, so it can't do streaming? Yeah, I don't know. Like... I'll be honest, I presumed until literally 3 minutes ago that it would do both types of streaming, because otherwise why would you buy it if you couldn't? If it could do both those things, it's got great potential, but if it can only do PlayStation 5 streaming, in-home streaming or over the internet streaming, but from your own PlayStation 5, it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense to release it with their PlayStation Cloud offering anyway. So I find that surprising.
Well, technically, like if you think about it, it's like we know that you can definitely connect it to your PS5 and stream via PS5 in your local home network. And the PlayStation 5 is doing all the work. This device is doing is just picking up a stream from the PS5 and displaying it on the screen. So technically,
but that's how the PlayStation streaming network.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. So like, I can't see why it can't be any different in terms of like there's a somewhere out there in a data center that is doing this work for it outside of your local network.
But that's the thing. Like, it is functionally, whether you stream to a PlayStation 5 because you don't have to stream PlayStation Now. Sorry, I'm going to get the names wrong, but the PlayStation Cloud Gaming doesn't have to go to a PlayStation 5. It can go to other devices like a web browser, because I've seen, you can, because like this one where you can play PlayStation games on an Xbox is through Microsoft Edge and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's a good way, but I think it's a way you can. But it's like, if you can do that to any old device, PlayStation or not, there's no way that any sane person at Sony is releasing this and not having cloud gaming included from day one. I almost think that would be the primary use for this device, is people, and maybe that's why they're not including it. People might buy this over a PlayStation 5, like they're worried about it sucking up sales of the PlayStation 5 just to then use more of their money streaming from the cloud.
That's a good point.
That's a
good point, yeah.
Semi-plausible solution, but I feel like it'd be silly not to have both options when both options are already available into lesser, non-PlayStation devices.
I think that's put the nail on the head, really, because if you think about it, they can't charge more than £100 for this, and if you're getting...
I mean, they can.
What, any more than £100?
Yeah.
I can't see that, because like
But how much does a DualSense controller cost on its own?
Yeah, okay, the controller, but in a market where everyone's got a smartphone, and you can just buy like a 15 quid, 10 quid controller adapter off Amazon, and then you're set. What's the how are they going to compete against that? Like,
well, it's the same way that Apple competes. It's the same way the way everyone competes is, but with having more expensive devices, is that they're the first party, and being first party gives you certain privileges.
Yeah, so you're saying the brand. You're saying because it's PlayStation.
Not because it's the brand, but it's like if you got a PlayStation Q, you just power it up and you can play almost immediately, buffering not included, from whatever device you need to. If you're going to load it up on your phone, then you've got to connect up your controller to your phone, which, depending on what phone or what controller you've got, if you're bringing it from your PlayStation, because you've only got one controller, you've got to go through the Bluetooth pairing. Then you've got to go in and launch the app. And I'm not saying it's difficult, but it should be simpler to play on this device than a phone with a connected controller. The emphasis there is should be. If it's not, then yeah, you're right. It shouldn't be sold at any price and no one's going to buy it. But that's usually the whole point of first-party products, is that they are usually the simplest, albeit at a more expensive cost to third-party stuff.
Yeah, I just think in their heads they're thinking, like, in their scenario, what they're thinking is like, there's people out there that have got a PS5 and someone else in the family wants to watch TV. So then you're stuck because you can't play your PlayStation. So they're thinking, okay, that person then can just grab this little device and then stream the games from their PS5. But like you said, it sounds a bit crazy if they're not including the actual game streaming as a service to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems so obvious to include it. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, when I say that, I mean like not have the PlayStation on, because it seems like you always have to have that PS5 on, and that's going to be doing all the work. That kind of sounds ridiculous to me. It's like I got a Steam Deck, and because I got Amazon Prime, I've been using Luna, so you can play any game that's on the Ubisoft launcher that I own, I can stream it onto my Steam Deck. So I can't see why they can't do something similar. So like you said, if you pay a premium price and then you own the games digitally.
See, the other thing is about if someone buys this and you require them to always play through the connected PlayStation, when there are other options that they could do, it just feels like it's just being wasteful. In this market, I feel like a lot of people might be considering cloud gaming as a way to save money on electricity bills, because of how power hungry gaming consoles and high power gaming computers can be these days, and how much electricity costs at the moment. It's like, if you can just offload that to cloud gaming, then you're like, oh yeah, I'll save loads of money. But then if you still got to put the PlayStation on to run the game, it just feels a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you thought you figured something out, but it doesn't work that way. And the other thing is that if you actually want to play a game that's on the cloud, because I was thinking about this, is like, imagine streaming something from the cloud to your PlayStation, and then that's being streamed from your PlayStation to your handheld. And the thing is like, the Sony PlayStation streaming thing works over the internet. Like, if I took a controller to work, I could download the app, sign into my PlayStation network ID, and it will find my PlayStation 5, remotely switch it on, and then I can play on my PlayStation from home at work. So the whole technology stack that PlayStation have built for streaming and cloud gaming, it works all over the internet, like both ways almost. It blows my mind if you cannot use it for cloud gaming. And maybe it's something that, it launches PlayStation 5 only, and in a software update later on they release cloud gaming. Like, not ideal, but you can live with that. Maybe the software is just behind. They've not worked out something equivalent to Steam Big Screen or something like that. But I don't know, just seems a bit weird.
Well, so would you think like later on they'll say, okay, these other streaming services can be on this thing? So if you say like,
no, I don't think they'll have third party on there. I just think the minimum should be you can stream from your PlayStation 5, but you can also, if you have the right subscription, stream from PlayStation Cloud Gaming. I don't think it needs to be a Logitech G Cloud. I think it just needs to be a Sony thing. But it needs to be a Sony thing.
Yeah, but the problem is with Sony, and they always do this, they always copy what is hot. So if like Nintendo are doing well, because they copied like the motion controls, they tried to copy the handheld market.
But it does kind of make sense that they would try and copy from Nintendo, because they're kind of like slightly more rivalry. both being way more prominent in their respective markets. Because I know Xbox just basically has barely made a dent in Japan, hasn't it? Or has it? So they're way more at loggerheads in their home market, and obviously that just spills out. I suppose taking ideas from other countries that haven't made it into Japan might work, but Microsoft aren't doing too much. It's just the Steam Deck itself.
I think like with Sony just out of nowhere they'll do something that would be just like, why are you doing this? You don't need to do this. Why are you bringing something out like the PlayStation Vita, like stuff like that, and then just completely dropping it, or the PlayStation TV, or they have a few things where it just brings stuff out and you're like, why have you done this? And then they just drop it quietly after a year. I think it's going to be one of those products where even like the PlayStation VR 2 is not doing very well in terms of sales, like, because who's going to spend like 500 quid?
You have to admit, like, what they're trying to do is they're trying to think about what hardware ideas might work, and they're sort of building that into their kind of strategy and into their research, budget in terms of like money and time and everything. And yeah, I mean, you've got to build something to kind of work out if it's going to work at all, and if it's not going to work, you can just drop it. I mean, that's okay. Other companies do that as well. You just throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
So, would you get a PlayStation Q?
No, I don't need it because I don't have a good enough internet for cloud gaming, if it ever did support cloud gaming. And for in-house stuff, we've got devices that I can use that on. The laptop is what I tend to use, which is, puts it onto a decent sized screen. I don't do handheld gaming, so I never use the Switch handheld, ever. Like,
really? Never? Okay.
No.
You don't like to like just lay in bed and just chill out and hold it?
I never use the Switch.
Really?
If I'm honest, I barely use the PlayStation. The consoles basically all belong to Jen. I kind of live on the computer.
But yeah, for me, like, something like, if it was like, I don't know, like, if I don't have a PlayStation 5 currently, but if it was something like it was a really nice grip, and let's be fair, the PlayStation 5 controller is really nice. So if they do that well, and the streaming quality is good, and it's cheap, my buying point would be £100. That's the max.
It's not going to be £100 though, Tommy. Like, it's not going to be.
It's got to be. But
it's not going to. No, it doesn't have to be.
It has to be.
Indications are it's going to be $300, which means it's probably going to be like £250, £260.
No way. No way.
That's what indications are looking at it being, and that's around what I would expect it to cost. It's a first-party solution, which means it's more expensive, and it can't do as much as...
You could get a Steam Deck.
Yes, you can get a Steam Deck, I know that, but that's not the point. This is not the Steam Deck.
The Steam Deck can do that, though. That's the thing. It could do...
Well, the Steam Deck can do that,
and it can play games on it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have DualSense built in, does it?
It does.
No, it doesn't have DualSense. It has features that equate to DualSense, but it won't have DualSense functionality. It'd be like plugging in an Xbox to a PC and using the streaming service. It's not the same experience. And actually, that's the other thing would be interesting. When I use the in-house streaming app on the computer, I can only use the DualSense controller plugged in. I can't use it wirelessly to the computer. It just doesn't work. It has to be wired. But at the same time, not all of the PlayStation 5 features translate. And I can't remember what's missing. It's either the speaker or it's the vibration. I think it's the speaker. That doesn't work. So when you go from playing on the PlayStation 5 directly, then go to streaming, it's not all there. And then you go back to playing on a PlayStation 5 and suddenly you can hear things back from the controller and it's just like, oh, hello, what's this? So if I'm honest, I'd rather they kind of put a bit of software development into the PlayStation streaming app, because it was built for the PlayStation 4 and it desperately needs updating for the PlayStation 5. I don't mind plugging in the cable for the controller because it means I don't have to resync with the PlayStation 5, but sometimes it would be nice to have it wireless, because I don't like having a cable that's not built into a controller coming out the back of a controller. I might accidentally like twist the cable and snap it, and then that's a £60 controller that needs replacing. So it would be nice to actually be able to use it wirelessly. Maybe the fault there is with Windows and its Bluetooth drivers, but I've never managed to get it to work properly, and even the Xbox One controller with built-in Bluetooth doesn't work flawlessly on Windows. So that might not be within Sony's purview to kind of get it working, but it would be nice if those two things worked on the streaming platforms they already have. But that's one of the things that they might do in PlayStation Q, that they've not done there is that it's got all of the DualSense features built into it, and it all works. The rumble, the touchpad. I don't know how they do the touchpad. I guess it's just the touchscreen. The touchscreen itself will be the touchpad, and then I suppose most people are going to have earbuds or something plugged in, but if you're using the built-in speakers, presumably you've got left-right speaker and a centre speaker to mimic the DualSense speaker.
I hear it's an IPS screen as well, not an OLED, which is quite disappointing. Say if you're saying like 300 quid.
Yeah. But that's one of those things that's going to make it, if you made it OLED, it's going to be more expensive. If it's IPS, it's cheaper. I'm not...
Yeah, but I might be like, okay, there are, OLED TVs, they are quite expensive. Like, there are ones that you can probably get that are cheaper, but they don't support all the features, like for gaming, for like HDMI 2.1. So to have an OLED screen, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're going to buy an OLED TV, you might as well buy the full whack, but that's quite expensive. You're talking like £800 to £1,000. But then to have an OLED device within your hands with a nice screen, you're like, okay, I can do this, yeah. I have an OLED screen. I've got the LG C1, and playing games and watching movies, like, in the dark, it is quite breathtaking in terms of the blacks. It's especially for content you've seen before, and you're like, wow, it's really done something to the image. It looks amazing. And yeah, especially I don't know. Do you know the resolution as well? It's like, it must be like
it's full HD, 60 FPS.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Well, if you're streaming, you're not going to get more than that. That's all the streaming does.
The PS Vita, the first versions that came out with the PS Vita, that was a very early version of OLED screen. So it's not like they haven't done it, and that looks quite nice. Because what they did is they brought out another revision of the PS Vita, and then it was a LCD, which wasn't as good. So I was lucky enough to buy the PS Vita pretty much day one, and I got the OLED screen.
So OLED was pre-LCD?
When was the PS Vita come out? 2011?
That seems quite early for OLED.
It's a very early version of OLED. It's not like...
Was there like manufacturing issues with something like that? Like, that's one reason I can think of going from OLED back to LCD, is if it's just like, these are not reliable at this point.
It's the money. It's the money. It costs so much money to do it.
Well, I mean, especially back in 2011... I mean, OLED aren't cheap now.
That's the thing, yeah.
Back when they were new technology.
This is like, compared to the screen of the PS Vita to like what we have in terms of OLED screens now, it's night and day comparison. It's a lot better, but still it's pretty good screen. So, and you look at it, like, for the Switch, like, if you're going to buy a new Switch, there's no point going for the standard IPS screen. You might as well go for the OLED. The colours pop out, and the blacks, it's quite amazing.
Oh yeah, if you're buying a Switch now, get the OLED. But what's the Steam Deck? Is that OLED or is that just LCD?
I think we could Google search it, but yeah, I think it's LCD, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's not a great. It's not like it's it's just a standard screen, which gets the job done. Like, when I'm using it, I can tell the difference on like if I'm watching something on my OLED TV, and then say, like, if I play the game on the OLED TV, then play it on the Steam Deck, you can notice the difference. Say if it was like the same settings. Yeah,
but how much was your TV? What's the retail?
Oh, $850.
Right, and how much was the Steam Deck?
Oh,
what's the base one? What does the base one start at?
I think it's like, isn't it like 360, 400?
Yeah, it's about 360. So you're comparing a gaming console that's got a full computer in it.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. Mine's a 55-inch screen.
Doesn't matter. It's just a screen. Like, there's nothing in it apart from a really crappy controller for a slow interface. Like, you're not comparing things that are similar. Of course, a dedicated device is better than a portable device that's got the screen built in. Like, you can't. You can compare the two, but the price doesn't reflect it. And
of course,
even the Switch OLED probably doesn't look as good as your LG screen, because LG literally manufacture like a third of the TVs, don't they? LG, Samsung, and there's another manufacturer. So Tommy, with everything said and done, are you going to be buying a PlayStation Q?
Definitely not, because I don't have a PlayStation 5.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the North vs South podcast. Please feel free to like and comment on YouTube, or subscribe and like to us in your podcasting app of choice. Goodbye.
TCL, Hisense, all these other...
Feel free to keep talking. I gotta take Jasper out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9,
Right, come on, bud.
10, 11, 12. How was your day, Mr. Baggins? My day was very nice. Oh yeah? Yeah. Ho 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 wee ho ho ho. Do Bilbo. What's that song? Bilbo Baggins, Frodo. Hello. Hello. Poor little boy. The thing is, I think we've done pretty well, to be honest. We could leave it there. Hello? Half an hour is a sweet spot, isn't it? Hello? Is it you I'm talking to? Hello? 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 Mr. Beast. Gordon Ramsay visits Burger Kitchen. £1. London gangsters meet Lad Bible. Ricky Gervais roasting celebrities to their face.
Go on, in. Go on. Go on.
Hello?
Come on, in.
Come in. Let's go to the poop.
Any good insights you laid on us while I was gone?
Oh no, I started talking gibberish, to be honest.